Thank you all for being patient with us. It's us senior people who delay the schedule. Unfortunately, in morning we heard Mr. Shankar saying we would love to have the generation for today and tomorrow listen to all the important and amazing content which we had on the stage today. Today was a presentation we talked about Catch Them Young. But when we delay the schedule by 2 hours, we eat on to the music time and the band starts playing and we lose the generation which needs to be here today is listening to the music right now. It's not their fault. Their band time has started. And their attention span is small. So my request, and I would urge, that when we have important session and content on the stage of this nature, we follow the schedule so that we don't lose the generation which has a very short attention span. August 5, 2012, NASA sent a rover to Mars to test whether the red planet could sustain life. To find a name for the rover, NASA held a nationwide student contest. There were 9,000 entries from students from across the world from various universities. There was one winning name by an 11-year-old. Can anybody guess that name? That was Curiosity. I'm going to touch upon a little bit on Curiosity today. When this 11-year-old won this contest, people asked us, her name was Clara Ma. So a lot of people asked us why? Why Curiosity? And she said, we explore. We're all about exploration. We're all about knowing new things. We're all about knowing where we need to go tomorrow. And that is what Curiosity is, and that is what Curiosity, this is exactly where we need, that's what exactly needs to be driven down in all of us, in children, in adults. The more curious you are, the more of a thinker you would be. We've all seen our kids when they were 2-year-old, 5-year-old, the first question they ask is why. They question almost everything. Why not this? Why that? That's the spirit most of the kids and the young adults are looking at. They're looking at the questioning. They're questioning why this way and why not that way. And that is what keeps the curiosity. That's what keeps the curiosity aligned. That's what keeps us alive. That's what keeps us learning and our inspirations alive. There are two kinds of curiosity: perceptual curiosity and epistemic curiosity. Perceptual curiosity, we feel when something surprises us and when something doesn't quite agree with what we know or what we think we know. That is felt as an unpleasant state. It's an adversary state. It's more like an itch, and we need to scratch that. While epistemic curiosity is a pleasurable state of curiosity. It's an anticipation of reward. That is a level of knowledge. That is a level of awareness. That is what drives the major scientific research. That is what drives creation. That is what drives creativity. That is what drives artworks and design and architecture and education. Children have epistemic curiosity. And that epistemic curiosity is actually that leads to happiness in them. That happiness derives out of discovery. That happiness derives out of learning. That happiness derives out of knowing more. And that happiness derives out of positive reinforcement and positivity which we young adults and even today, even in our age, epistemic curiosity is extremely crucial. And that is where the creativity derives from. The more curious you are, the more lateral you're going to think, the more knowledge seeker you would be, the more learning hunger you will have, and the more creative you would be. This is somebody we've all known. No special, he's somebody I relate to a lot simply because I don't come from your world. Though I was introduced as designer, thinker, conceptualizer, I'm not a designer. I'm not a trained architect. I'm not a trained product designer. A management graduate, moved into the world of design. Thanks to a few names which are named today in the meeting, Rajiv Sethi, popularly known as Mapu Martin Singh, who's not with us. I had an honor to spend a lot of time with Pupul Jaikar. That's when Vis-a-Vis was born. Vis-a-Vis was born as the first design management company way back in 1997. I used to stay with NID graduates, SPA graduates in our bachelor days in one 3-bedroom apartment. And there used to be a constant question that how do we, product designer, architects, promote ourselves? How do we bring our talent forward? Or how do we learn more? How do we share more? There were a lot of art galleries mushrooming across the globe, across the country, promoting fine artists. Fashion design was the only design. One sec, sorry. We need a stopper here. If you can just hold this. Sorry. Fashion design is being the populist and being popular in nature. That's one design stream which gets recognized first and also gets into an autopilot in terms of recognition. So fashion designers get recognized. But product designers, graphic designers, industrial designers, architects, landscape architects, how do they find their voice to be heard? How do they get more exposed? How do clients find them, or service seekers find them, or authorities like yourselves finds them? And how do they find more work, and how do they learn? That was the basic premise of Vis-a-Vis way back in 1997, where we started the first architecture and design gallery in the country. We did a lot of exhibition, we did a lot of events, we did a lot of dialogues, discourses. We're proud of some of the events we did way back then with Gautam Bhatia. We curated a show called Unbuilt India, where we presented those architectural drawings and models which never got built, but they were powerful ideas. 1999, 31st December, Millennium Eve, in collaboration with Dr. Jyotendra Jain, we curated a show called Wrap the World, where in 1.5 hours, one single piece of artwork wrapped the entire globe. It was a very nice event where we spoke to a lot of young designers and said, how do we celebrate this Millennium Eve? We were on 31st December. Those days we used to have fax paper roll, the thermal paper roll, which was a 30-meter thermal paper roll. We got 2 machines from Glasgow. 2 artists in Glasgow started working on that fax paper, and that fax paper from the next machine was transmitted to Johannesburg. 2 artists, while receiving the fax, started working on the same thermal paper, and they sent it to New Delhi. We had Ranbir Kalekar, Kalam Patwa, Subha Ghosh in amphitheater of Craft Museum, and we created a huge set. We had those days web camera, and BBC did a live coverage, Star News did a live coverage that time. 3 artists started working on that fax paper as they were receiving it. We sent it to Sydney, Sydney sent it to New York sent it to Porto sent it back to Glasgow. While one machine was transmitting the artwork, the second machine started receiving the artwork, and 2 kids exchanged hands. And that's how one single piece of artwork worked by people from different countries culminated into an artwork which wrapped the world in 1.5 hours. So we did initiatives like that. We did a lot of talks, conferences. I can give you more examples later. We're running short of time. As they say, I mean, Mr. Ravindran has written, when we started something called visaviffolio.com in 2000. There was no Facebook, there was no LinkedIn, there was no buzzword called social networking or social community. Whole objective was that we will have the global creative professionals under one banner, and we started the first online art and architecture design magazine with Gautam and Kishore Singh editing it, Mr. A.G.K. Menon, Mr. K.T. Ravindran kindly were kind of in contributing thoughts and essays and articles in it. We ran it for almost 11 months, busted all the money, tried looking for venture capital funding and PE funding, and nobody had heard of community, or nobody had heard of social community or social networking then. At the same time, we were also only talking for a very, very niche community called creative community. So though everybody found the idea interesting, but not interesting enough where they could put their money on the table, we had to shut it down. As they say, sometimes being ahead of time is also not always right. So we had to close it down by the sheer market force. Being an entrepreneur, drifted into the world of lighting. Again, the curious me realize that there's so many architects and designers when they look at lighting as a solution. They end up relying primarily on their own gut or electrical contractor or electrical engineers. And lighting design in India was not prevalent at all 10 years back. So we started the first lighting design studio. I did a little crash course. We hired architects working with us. We hired a few international lighting designers coming in down and working with us. And that's how Vis-a-Vis became synonymous to lighting. So from 2003 to 2013, Vis-a-Vis became a lighting company. So people forgot the old Vis-a-Vis, which started as an art and design architecture gallery. And the curious entrepreneur as I am, my past started nagging me, and we said, okay, no, we used to love what we used to do earlier. Yes, lighting is a great business to be in, but we need to come back. And a lot of associations and organizations and forums had already formed, which were enabling the dialogues and discourses and platform for architects and designers and product designers and so on and so forth. So we went back and it says, okay, we need to create a little bit of disruption. 2014, then we conceived a company called STIR. STIR, which stands for See, Think, Inspire, Reflect. The first product of STIR, I don't know if some of you may have known, was a physical print magazine called Mondo Arc India. It started as a lighting magazine because that's where our mind was actually going. Mondo globally is a lighting magazine. In India, we realized that the lighting content is not so diverse. So we turned Mondo into an art, architecture, and design magazine. Then 4 issues. I'm going to show you a little video when we celebrated the 19th issue, which was the 3rd anniversary issue. That was the time when Mr. Doshi had won the Pritzker Prize. And he kindly agreed to, Gautam was the guest editor for this magazine, Gautam Bhatia, and Mr. Doshi gave us a special cover for this. Can I have the audio, please? Audio? The audio needs to be plugged in, I guess. Anyway, this was a powerful issue. It was all about sketches and reinventing the importance of sketching. So all the projects and all the case studies we presented here where we actually went back and requested this. These are Laurie Baker's sketches which we found. So this whole issue was what we call a collector's edition. We had from sketches from David Chipperfield to Mercer Foster. We had essays from Gautam, Mr. Menon, and so on. A lot of people wrote on this. This issue was one of our favorite issues, which was a penultimate issue. Can I move forward? Is the audio connected now? Genesis of the name STIR came from, as I said, See, Think, Inspire, Reflect. Seeing adds a lot to curiosity. The more you see, the more you visit museums, you look at case studies. Today we saw some amazing case studies from all the architects and designers here. The more you actually experience the space, the more curious you are and more you learn. Think is, again, brilliant minds always question, always analyze, always contemplate. And the more you think, the more curious you are. I mean, I don't know, this is a question addressed to all the gents here. I don't know how many of you must have used the restroom, the gents' loo today, and how many of you got down to thinking. The fact is that when you enter the loo, you enter with the 2 aisles of urinal. You cross that, you go and wash your hands. You may also splash water on your face, but unfortunately you come back the same aisle where there are other people doing the job. And all it needed is to have an exit somewhere else, or have to have your washing area ahead. And that small thinking is what is required, and that curiosity is what is required to create something which is better, which is more progressive. I mean, sorry about if I picked up on as trivial an issue as that, but I noticed it and I said, why is this not corrected, you know? Inspiration, again, is a critical cue for again, I mean, the more you find inspiration, the more you inspire, the more curious you are, the more creative you would be. And if you can reflect within and around, reflect on what is happening around you, reflect on what you can step away from your belief systems and look at new perspective, the more curious you would be, the more creative you're going to get. And that led to the genesis of Stir. I hope the audio is working. I know Arun, you're going to diagnose this. This is a small video on how the brand Stir got evolved, and the logo and the genesis of this logo, STIR. Is my audio working now? Can I play the video?
Vodka martini. Shaken, not stirred.
Oh, that's stirred, not shaken. That was right.
I imagine a stirrer, like how you stir a cocktail, so it's like a mix of things.
Maybe a circular motion or a movement. Having stagnant thoughts, then I want to stir it up a bit, shake it up a bit to get the thoughts running.
If I had to think of something in nature, I would have to equate it to a tornado. And tornadoes have a similar motion, right? And so when they move, like they kind of break whatever's in their path and they make way, like they break whatever's in their path and they make way for something new. So I think that's what's stir.
Action which is done to cause a reaction. So basically it's done to create a fusion of elements.
Stir is like the perfect blend of things, I guess.
I'm running. I'm running. I'm running. I'm running. I'm running. I'm running. I'm running low, 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 low. Got nowhere to go. I'm riding slow. I'm running slow, 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 slow. Got nowhere to go. I'm running low. I'm running slow, 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 slow. Got nowhere to go. I'm running low.
That's how the Stir brand came up and the logo came up. And we said the more you know, the more you don't know. And that's again a fairly important belief which we have, that I think what we've learned today, some of the sessions that you've had have been completely, I'm sure all of you who heard today knows that there's much more to do and much more to know and much more to explore and much more to learn. We divided the whole philosophy of Stir into 4 C's. We got it into content, in-depth content, innovative way of presenting it, easy way to consume it, where it's not just about pretty pictures, it's not about what, as we said, boutique hotel. It has to have analysis, it has to have opinions, it has to ignite debate, and anything which Stir can support in stirring up that thought process is where we bring our content in. We try and do cross-border content as well. This is a small video where we got 8 Indian designers speaking to 8 international designers, and how the cross-border conversation became yet another source of inspiration for a lot of young. This was a series which was presented. We had almost 120,000 page views when this series of 8 videos run. From Paolo Navone to Jean-Marie Missar to Patricia Oricula, they were all spoken by and interviewed by 8 Indian guys, 8 Indian designers, and this was, I'm not going to show you the conversation because we're running short of time, but this is just to show you that this is where the innovation on contents comes in. Interdisciplinary collaboration, cross-culture collaboration. Tony was part of a show which we did where we did a show called Meteorology, a term which doesn't exist in the English dictionaries, material plus astrology, and we talked about how material can become a hero, and designers like Tony can become a narrator of that story. We picked up material, and he says, foretell a story keeping that material in mind. Tony created an amazing installation with 22,000 PET bottles floating over a swimming pool in a gallery in Delhi. Last year's theme was, what happens when tomorrow becomes today? This year's theme, we're doing Meteorology 2.0 again, and this year's theme, which was very, I made some notes when I was listening to Mr. Ravindran today, that what happens when yesterday becomes tomorrow? So taking cues from the past and building tomorrow. So these are the kind of initiatives that you're doing in collaboration. I'm going to skip this video too. Sorry. Connect, meet, talk, share. This is what we're doing today. Again, a very, very important aspect of enabling creative process, enabling creative strategies. And last but not least, I'm going to skip all that, it's community. Engagement, network, contribute. Today, Mujib talked about that little WhatsApp group called Resilient Kerala is actually creating a network. You know, even if you start at the WhatsApp level, you're creating a network, you're contributing it. We're actually working very, very aggressively on and producing some technology-enabled, AI-enabled community software where we can host some of the engagement and networking online for all of us and for tomorrow's generation. So there's a lot cooking up at the space. All I would request is, I've cut short my presentation to 15 minutes. Stay curious, stay stirred. Do visit www.stirworld.com. I'm sure it'll ignite your curiosity and therefore help see, think, inspire, reflect in a different manner. Thank you all.